All right, so President Trump blasting the media and big tech in his first post-election interview. Speaking with Maria Bartiromo yesterday, he accused the press and social media execs of being massively corrupt and trying to control the narrative. Listen.
It's a situation the likes of which we don't have freedom of the press in this country. We have suppression by the press. They suppress. You know, you can't have a scandal if nobody reports about it.
Let's bring in Karl Rove. He is the former White House Deputy Chief of Staff to President George W. Bush. He is also a Fox News contributor, the perfect guy to talk to you about this. So, Karl, it's kind of old hat by now, you know, this idea that the media is tougher on Republicans than Democrats. But this issue of major anti-conservative bias on the big social media platforms is something I think a lot of Americans are just starting to get used to now, this after the 2018 and now 2020 elections. Tell us your thoughts on that.
Well, first, let's say something about the media. Yes, the media have always had sort of a left-of-center bias, but we have seen over the last couple of years that it is, with this president at this time, it is more extreme than it has ever been in our lifetimes. The animosity, the hostility towards the president and his party are enormous, and not only just at the president and his party, but at the voters who supported him. We had recently a figure on cable TV was quoted in Vanity Fair, I believe it was, as wondering about those all those Trump supporters, were they bat blank crazy? Were all of them crazy? So the hostility is just amazing to me. But now we have this whole social media issue, and yes, the president is both a dominant figure in that arena with his huge number of Twitter followers. He has, in essence, the world's largest newspaper. It just has to have very short articles. But on the other hand, there are very real concerns that these media firms, which are dominated by people who are from the center left and some of them very far left, consciously censor conservative content and are hostile to conservative voices. And as a result, there's lots of interesting discussions in Congress about how to rein in the social media firms.
Right.
And it's not just from the conservatives. They're also from liberal firms as well. I mean, liberal members
Karl,
of Congress.
Yeah. So even Governor Andrew Cuomo said at the end of last week that he's never seen a press corps that is this blatantly disrespectful, not necessarily to President Trump personally, but to the office of the Commander-in-Chief of the United States. Karl, take a look at this. This is from the Media Research Center. They're tracking these warning labels, these flags that Twitter is putting up on different politicians' posts. They found that between November 2nd and November 16th, 0 Biden tweets were flagged, while 100 Trump tweets were flagged. What does this tell us? That Joe Biden's just a lot better at Twitter?
Well, no, it tells us that there is potentially bias there. And look, let's step back for just a minute. Sometimes people deserve to be sanctioned for not being truthful in their tweets or being inaccurate in their public statements on social media. And other times they're not. But what we've got here is a consistent hostility to the center right. It's not just the president. If you look at the sort of comparable numbers, I suspect, for virtually anybody who, sort of here's the conservative block of people on a social media platform, here's the liberal block, you'd find numbers similar to that as well.
Now, Karl, you pointed out that this criticism of social media becoming kind of godlike in its editorial powers, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, you have it, is really bipartisan, meaning Democrats and Republicans are really being equally critical of them lately. Do you think something is actually going to get done in a Biden administration? Do you think somehow Congress will decide to rally and try and do something to rein them in? Or are we just going to see these hearings where they drag execs up to Capitol Hill?
What's interesting is President Trump and President Biden are both in favor of removing a critical section of the statutes governing the Federal Communications Commission that give protections to social media platforms. It's interesting. Both President Trump, who has long called for this, has now been joined by President-elect Biden, who says, yeah, we ought to get rid of this particular section, which gives gives these social media firms protections on liability. There's also support from both Republicans and Democrats on the antitrust action filed by the Justice Department against Google. There are concerns about privacy. Where it breaks down is lots of leftists want to break up and stop the ability of these companies to make acquisitions. Conservatives tend not to have those same kind of feelings. But yeah, a lot of common ground.
One tech source told me last week, Karl, to expect a long, cold winter of antitrust for Google and some of the other big tech platforms. Karl Rove, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
You bet.